Well, we're here with Mike McCoy, Wilmington Selectman and Democratic candidate for the nomination for State Representative for the 19th Middlesex District. Thanks for joining us, Mike. Thanks for taking time.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. Appreciate the invite.
So, just for starters, you mentioned you've been out and about. You've been shaking a lot of hands, knocking on a lot of doors, talking to a lot of people. Just to start out, what are some of the key things that you've been hearing from people that they are concerned about?
Obviously, Wilmington and Tewksbury have a lot of similarities, okay? But Tewksbury has a bigger concern, and like we just mentioned, the bottom line is I've been spending a lot of time in Tewksbury to get the pulse of the residents, and in Tewksbury, people are really concerned of the traffic. People are really concerned of the overdevelopment here in Tewksbury, and that's a major concern. People, and I'm going to say this, Tewksbury is a wonderful place to lay down your roots. Tewksbury is a great place still to raise a family, but my fear is right now with a lot of residents, and that's what I'm hearing, because that's why I'm trying to feel the pulse of the residents in Tewksbury of overdevelopment. People aren't happy here in Tewksbury. They're showing concerns. And I can elaborate a little bit more because I've been out there. I spoke to hundreds and hundreds of residents already. I've been campaigning early on here in Tewksbury, and that's where I'm focusing of the folks in Tewksbury. And being a selectman for a long time, I understand the needs and wants. A lot of the residents aren't happy of the development that's happened in Tewksbury. And like I said, Tewksbury is in a wonderful place to lay down your roots and to raise a family, but my concern, and I think a lot of folks' concern, is with the overpopulation, now you're going to have to look at building more schools, infrastructure, police and fire. That comes, with a price tag.
Right.
And unfortunately, that affects at a local level of their local property tax. I can elaborate a little bit more on what else people have been saying if you want, and that's a big concern.
Well, when it comes to things like overdevelopment and the byproducts of that you're talking about, what do you see that can be done on a state level? What can you do if you're elected as state representative to help in that area?
All right, that's a great question, and I'm going to give a good answer. And that came up several times. They said, what can you do as my state representative? I said, all I can do is lobby and get as much money as possible to help Route 38, the infrastructure, to do road repair, maybe to put up another set of traffic lights. But that's only a Band-Aid effect, because people aren't stupid out there. They know the real reason why there's a problem, and I'm going to touch upon that. I says, what are you going to put, another set of traffic lights? You're going to move traffic quickly from 100 feet to another 100 feet, and then you're in traffic again. People understand, and I say to folks, and they said to me, being a selectman for a long time, I understand the needs and wants at a local level and a state level. And like Tip O'Neill said, all politics is local. Right. People in Tewksbury, and I'm going to be honest, I learned a couple words, and it's not a shot at anybody, a couple of new words in the Tewksbury vocabulary. And it's called, I'm telling you, and it's called Martell and Ginsburg. Now, these are the two biggest developers in Tewksbury, and I get that. And I know they've done some good, no question about it. But people are upset. And the bottom line is, why is there overdevelopment? You have to blame your local authorities. It's not the state. Everything is local. Your planning board, they are the town planners. Your board of selectmen, who are the executive board that make all these decisions, and they vote on common victual license, and they vote on all these licenses, and they have input, and people aren't happy, And like I said, it's a great place to live. My wife's from Tewksbury, and I can talk about that in a second. But people are upset of the overdevelopment, and they see it, and it all reflects local. And it's your town planners. I used to serve on the planning board for 3 years when I was 25, then get elected to the board, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But they are our town planners. Wilmington and Tewksbury is very similar. Years ago, you take a look at all these side streets, off Shaw Sheen and down, South Street, Wimple Road, all these other side streets off them. They're like scenic roads, no different in Wilmington. Don't forget, we had horse and buggy years and years ago, all right? Now, the roads aren't much wider than they were like 100 years ago on these side streets. They consider them scenic roads. Now with the overpopulation, and that's what people are concerned. And the bottom line is, it's your local boards that control the destiny. They are the town planners. And it's just unfortunate. People are really upset with the local government because they felt that they should be able to do something.
Sure.
You know, and that's what it is. It's all local, and you need to take control. I'm not against development. I'm for orderly development, but you need to do it right. And in Tewksbury, it's gotten out of control, and people in Tewksbury see that, and that's what I'm hearing. And you don't have to be a Harvard grad to figure that one out. You can see it, you know?
So, in terms of, now you've, as you said, you've served on the planning board in Wilmington, served for a long time on the Board of Selectmen in Wilmington. So you've been able to see from the local level about working with state representatives, state senators, working with state officials. How do you view what that working relationship should be like between the legislative delegation, state senator, state representative, and the local officials, the boards of selectmen, the planning boards, that type of thing?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, you really need to enter it like a marriage. You really need to take care of constituent service, and you need to be accessible. And I've been accessible, and I've got a track record with constituent service, but you need to work with your state delegation and to get things done. Absolutely, because that's where, you know, you can get, you know, that's where local aid happens and Chapter 70 funds, Chapter 90 funds, and I'm going to work my butt off. I'm going to work hard to help people to make sure that we take care of Tewksbury and Wilmington in local aid. And I'm going to do my best, and I know I can deliver. You know, I've been doing it for a long time. I understand, you know, not only life, but in politics, it's a compromise. Absolutely. And what we need to do is take care of the local aid, making sure that the schools get the money that they deserve. We want to make sure that we take care of, you know, Chapter 90 funds. We want to make sure the infrastructure, sidewalk program. I mean, we have a great program in Wilmington where we have a very aggressive sidewalk program. In Tewksbury, I'm not hearing that so much. People are concerned with the sidewalk. Those monies should be dedicated. You're supposed to prioritize the neighborhoods or the streets. For example, I'm in favor, and we've always done that, to make sure we put sidewalks near the schools. You want to make sure the kids that do walk to school is walking to the school and from home in a safe environment. Also, side streets. You know, the money in the program is supposed to be used for sidewalks. Sometimes, you know, I know there's a little loophole in that because of the cities and sidewalks, so they use those monies to do, say, road work. But that money should be really used first for sidewalks, and that's important.
One of the issues, you mentioned safety, one of the issues that we hear about, letters to the editor and whatnot, is the opioid epidemic that's going on. It's gone certainly beyond the cities, beyond Lawrence and Lowell. It's permeated into the suburbs. It's crossed demographic lines. How do you view what's being done right now to combat the opioid epidemic, and what would you like to see done in the future on the state level to battle that?
No, you're right. Not only is it an issue locally in a state, it's nationwide. Even President Trump is, you know, he's even acknowledged the fact that it's a nationwide epidemic and we really need to control it. You know, and you know, there's no magic answer. I mean, obviously, the only thing that people could say, well, you throw a lot of money at it and see what happens. But you got to make sure you do it right. And I know the opioid epidemic has touched all of us, and that has to be a priority. But we also got to take into consideration where we have these centers. And I know we have to make sure that it's in an environment that is good for the residents who occupy their homes and live in neighborhood areas, and we have to make sure that the patient themselves is in a friendly, nice environment. You don't want to build a drug detox center across a liquor store or across a drugstore. You know,
Right,
I mean,
right,
you got to do what's good for both people. So it all comes down to dollars, and that is something that will be a priority of mine, to make sure that we do take a look at this situation. And I know that other cities and towns have certain councils basically to sue the pharmaceutical companies. And in the town of Wilmington, we're exploring that right now. I can't talk too much because we're in executive session,
Right.
but we're exploring. I can talk about generalizations. We're also exploring, and I believe Tewksbury is doing that. We're also exploring of going after pharmaceuticals because they said it's not, you know, relative to opioid, that it's not addictive. Well, of course it is.
Right.
You know, and it is. So we need to keep people accountable for that, and companies affordable for that. Pharmaceutical companies need to address that. You know, I mean, that's what we need to take a look at.
You mentioned about the locations of different facilities. One issue that has popped up just this past week is a post-rehab residential facility by Into Action Recovery. They've purchased a property, and there's been some talk of the neighbors not being 100% happy that it's in their area. This was a project that Representative Miceli had helped get some funding for the purchase of it. Where do you see, where do you stand on that project and its location moving forward?
No, great question. The bottom line is, once again, you need to protect the safety and the well-being of its inhabitants. What that means is you got to take care of the residents that are living here now. Now, I've championed a cause very similar to what we're talking about in Tewksbury. I joined a group called the Concerned Citizens of Wilmington, and I was the lead petition. We had an article to come to a town meeting, the same exact thing, that they wanted to, and we're still fighting it, open a drug detox right next in North Wilmington, 362 Middlesex Ave, I believe. A drug detox right near a neighborhood. Now it's in a general business zone, but there are hundreds of homes that abut the area. And our zoning bylaws, and it was kind of crazy. I was the lead petitioner. I went out with the concerned citizens, petitioned a special town meeting, and we won. And real quickly, what happened was in our zoning bylaws is not much different than the Tewksbury zoning bylaws, but sometimes bylaws need to be updated. In our zoning bylaw in the town of Wilmington, you could open up a full-blown drug detox center in a neighborhood, next to a school, in a light business area, or in general business, but you can't put it in an industrial area or a highway zone.
Right.
And that's crazy.
Right.
So what we did was flipped it. We took it out of those areas of a neighborhood. So the old bylaw, you could literally open up a drug detox or a alcohol prevention center, let's say, in the middle of a neighborhood. And it makes no sense in doing that. You know, so we did that. We brought it to the town meeting December 16, 2017. We won by 85%. We went out there, and by the time to get to Article 2, we reached 1,585 signatures. Out of that, because I'm retired and I'm available, I got on my own 845 signatures. I was outside Market Basket in Wilmington. And I've also brought other articles as a member of the Board of Selectmen, but not as a member, but as a concerned citizen,
Sure.
a citizen-driven petition. And I sympathize with these folks in Tewksbury. And if they want to call me, 978-657-5495, I'll be there to work with you, because we understand the situation, but you have to protect the neighborhoods. They have a say, and I think that's a wrong spot. And I sympathize with the neighbors, and I'm on their side. That shouldn't go in that area, and you need to change the zoning bylaws in order to accomplish that.
Okay, excellent. You mentioned that you're retired. You had been a small business owner for many years. So you have some good perspective on what the business climate was in Massachusetts, say a couple of decades ago compared to now. What is the small business climate like now in Massachusetts, and what are some of the things you'd like to see moving forward on the state level to help foster small business growth?
Right, you know, just go back in history, I'm the original owner of Michael's Place restaurant located in Wilmington. It's across the Textron tennis courts. I opened up in 1984, and I sold the business in 2015. So technically I'm retired, and I understand how to run a very successful business, and I've done that. And I understand that small business is basically the really engine, not only in Massachusetts, but in the whole country. It's the small mom and pop shops, you know, small businesses that really are the backbone to America. And we need to do everything to give incentives and tax breaks to small businesses, because, you know, they're the ones who have their families, and they do hiring in the local community, and it means something to do that. So I would do everything impossible as a legislator to try to make sure that small businesses deserve tax breaks as much as big as these big companies. And by running a business, I understand how a budget works. Also with families, I understand what families go through. Husband and wife, they need to work and they have to manage, life, and they have to manage their budget. So I get that. And we need to do everything possible to help small businesses, not only in Wilmington and Tewksbury, but throughout the Commonwealth. And I'm going to do everything I can as a state rep to help small businesses.
One of the things that I've been talking with all the candidates about is the imbalance right now in the legislature between the Democrats and the Republicans, and it seems to be a kind of a double-edged sword. On the Democratic side, a Democratic representative who gets elected is going to be part of the majority, is going to seem to be have some good sway and influence, good connections. On the other hand, there is concern about a new representative getting elected who's a Democrat being just a rubber stamp for Democratic leadership, especially where there's been some corruption, to be perfectly honest, in Democratic leadership on the State House in recent years. So how do you avoid, how do you maintain independence and not be that rubber stamp and not get caught up in that culture?
Well, let me tell you right out straight. I'm a JFK Democrat. I don't vote the party. I vote the man or the woman who best represents me. I'm a common sense Democrat. My parents before me were JFK Democrats. I'm a conservative. And I will say this, you talk about corruption, and I understand the past 3 speakers, there was corruption where one speaker actually went to jail, and that's a concern. But I want folks to know out there that I've been a selectman for 28 years, and I want folks to know one thing. I've funded all my elections as a selectman. So I've never taken a penny contribution from anybody. And I want to tell you another thing. I'm running for state representative. I'm spending my own money. I am not soliciting any kind of donations or big name endorsements. The only person I take direction is the man I see in the mirror every morning. And, I just want folks to realize that when I get up in the morning, and if I'm lucky enough to be voted representative, I'm not going to fall in bed with the leadership, or I'm going to do what I think is, better for somebody else. I'm going to take care of my district. I'm going to vote what residents want. And I want folks to realize, I'm far from a liberal. I'm a JFK Democrat, common sense kind of Democrat, and I understand how to work a budget, and people are concerned of their tax dollars. And I want people to realize that. And once again, I'm funding my own election, okay? And not too many people can say that, because when I vote, it's going to be vote on behalf of residents. You take a look at the big top, Fortune 500 organizations. They pump hundreds of millions of dollars into elections. Do you think they're really doing it in the best interest of the people? No. They want to make sure they take care of their businesses. Even local, you have to take a look who's donating money to who, all right? And I'm not part of that clique. And I want people to know that I'm independent, and that's one of the reasons why I think I serve on the Board of Selectmen for 28 years. That's unheard of. I don't know anybody in the area, and even people in Tewksbury say to me, "You've been a selectman for 28 years?" That's unheard of. And some people who have followed me, because I am from Wilmington, own a successful restaurant, and people said, "Geez, I wish you were our selectman, because it seems like you care about what happens at a local level." And I'll say it again, Tip O'Neill stated, politics is local, and we talk about development. It's all local. Don't blame the state. It is your local boards of selectmen and your local planning board. So once again, people in Tewksbury aren't happy with the planning board or the board of selectmen, because it seems like they're giving away the community. And that's what I'm hearing. And I come from the school called Common Sense. And I've championed causes in Wilmington to try to control growth. And it's like that movie, My Cousin Vinny. You win some, you lose some. And that's happened to me at town meeting. But I'm on resident sides.
One of the things, people who may have heard the name Mike McCoy have probably seen articles about things going on in Wilmington, causes, debates, Board of Selectmen's meetings and whatnot. But as you get out there and meet people who maybe haven't known you personally, have not, all they've done is read about you and whatnot, what are you trying to get across to people about who Mike McCoy is as a person, as an individual?
Yeah. No. When I'm out there campaigning, there are a good amount of people who do know me and some don't. And I just tell them, I'm Mike McCoy from Wilmington. I'm the original owner of Michael's Place Restaurant. I serve on the Board of Selectmen for the past 28 years. And there are other people who do know who I am, and it's no secret. I'm Jim Miceli's nephew. That's no secret. And people said, "You're Jim Miceli's nephew," and I go, "Yes, I am." But I want people to realize that I'm not trying to skate in on anyone's coattails. I've got my own record. I have my own identity. I've given 31 years of my life to public service. That's more than half my lifetime. Public service is in my blood, DNA. And I'll be honest, when I became a member of the planning board, then I ran for selectman, and my uncle told me, "I think you should run for selectman." And my uncle supported me. I ran for selectman. And I did visit my uncle at the State House early on in the 80s. I worked really hard for my uncle in the early 80s because he had to have a strong foothold in Tewksbury. When Tewksbury became part of the district, he went out there and worked. I worked hard with him in the early 80s. My uncle took me to the State House. I've seen the State House. I met George Kavarian. And I remember my uncle taking me down the hallways, and he said, "Take a look at those rooms. You have attorneys, you have real estate brokers, you have financial brokers that occupy those rooms. They got a nice little gig. Some of them, and most of them, run their second job out of the State House." And they do that. And there's no question. And I want to let folks know, I'm retired. I have no second job. I'm going to get up every morning. I'm going to give it my all. I know I can do the job. And I'll say it again. No one's going to fill the shoes of my uncle. That's never going to happen. But I think I can do the job. I have my own resume. And I'll say it, I'm not skating on anyone's coattails. 31 years, that's unheard of. 28 years as a member of the Board of Selectmen. And I'll say it, I am funding my own election. That way I'm not committed to this person and that person. And let's be honest, when you make a donation, sometimes there's a lot of IOUs out there, and I understand. That's how it is. I'm not going to have to do that. I'm going to work with residents, and I'll say it again and again. No second job. My full job will be 100% state representative. I know I can do the job. I will get up every morning. I will think of the residents in Tewksbury and Wilmington. I will cast the best vote in their interests. And I'll say it. I'm in bed with no group. I'm not in bed with any developer. I'm not against development, but I'm for orderly development. And I've done that. And I've voted for some things, no question. But I've always put the residents first, and I think residents understand that. And I can say, being a member of the board for 28 years, when there's a problem in a neighborhood, they say, "Let's give Mike McCoy a call," because I know he'll listen. And I provide a great constituent service on my own. For 31 years, 28 years as selectman, when people have concerns, I'll go to their home. People know how to get a hold of me. I'm accessible, I'm available, and I have a great track record on constituent service. And if I become state rep, and if I'm lucky enough to be state representative, I'll have office hours in Wilmington, in Tewksbury. And if people can't make it because they're handicapped or for some reason, I'll come to their home. And I've done that. I've got a great track record with constituent service.
If people want to know more about you, know more about the campaign, where you stand on issues, where can people find that information?
Oh, thank you for that free plug. I never even thought of that. I do have a Facebook, all right, and it's www.mccoyforstaterep.com. They can go onto my website and they can take a look that I've answered some tough questions. They can see where I stand, and they can find out more about me. But right now, I'm just not an individual. I'm from old school, and I love meeting people person, one-on-one. I've stood at the street corners on Shawsheen Street in front of Market Basket. I was down by off East Street, down by Luna Rosa, when people going in to Route 93. I've gone door to door. I've met people. I'm going to all the functions that I possibly can. I want people to ask any question, and I tell them, I'm here for you, and I'm out there. My wife has a little, like a little joke. She goes, "Honey, what street corner are you working tonight in the morning time?" And I said, "Oh, no, it's all good." And they know that. And I want people, that's why I was out early on. I didn't have, a reporter did call me and ask me, when are you going to have your kickoff party like the other individuals? And I said, I already started my kickoff party a month ago, campaigning outside Market Basket. Right. And the reason why I'm not having a campaign kickoff, I am not soliciting any funds. I am self-funding. So therefore, I'm not tied up with anybody, no IOUs. I'm going to vote on behalf of residents, and I know I can do a good job. And I just hope people just take a look at my website, they take a look at the questions, and I'll say it. I am a JFK Democrat. I'm a common sense Democrat. I'm far from a liberal. I'm a conservative individual, and I've done that all my life.
All right. Mike McCoy, candidate for state representative for the Democratic nomination. Thanks for joining us here on your Tewksbury today.
No, I want to say one more quick thing. My wife's from Tewksbury, and I don't want anybody out there to blame me. When I married her, she lived off Chandler Street. I stole her and took her to Wilmington, so don't hold that against me. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.